techniques to modify and shape your stuttering. The first technique is called fluency shaping, which consists of easy onset, light contacts, and rate reduction. The purpose of fluency shaping is to change the way you actually talk. The second technique is stuttering modification, which consists of easy stuttering, cancellations, and pullouts. The purpose of stuttering modification techniques are to actually modify how you stutter. The bounce and slide is another technique that we will also talk about. We will go through each technique, and I will teach and model each of them for you. Okay, so the first technique is called easy onset, which is one of the fluency shaping techniques. For easy onset, you're going to prolong the first sound of the word in the beginning of a sentence. So for example, in this reading passage, you would say one. So I want you to repeat after me. Once upon a time, there was a young boy named Joe.
Once upon a time, there was a young boy named Joe.
Good. Okay. The next fluency shaping technique is called light contacts. Light contacts is when you are going to actually back away from tension when you're producing a sound, and you want to bring your articulators together very lightly with minimal contact. You use this technique more in an anticipation of stuttering. So you want to make sure that when you're producing a sound that you bring your articulators together as lightly as possible to reduce tension. So an example for this one would be producing the word time as time. So repeat after me. Once upon a time, there was a young boy named Joe.
Once upon a time, there was a young boy named Joe.
Good. Did you do that lightly?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it feels less tense. Okay, good. The last technique of fluency shaping is called rate reduction. This just consists of reducing your rate of speech. So by reducing your rate of speech, it also creates less tension in hopes that your stuttering acts will not happen in those moments. So I want you to repeat rate reduction after me. Once upon a time, there was a young boy named Joe. Just read the sentence nice and slowly.
Once upon a time, there was a young boy named Joe.
Good. Okay, nice job. So the next technique that I'm going to show you is called the bounce and slide. Okay. The bounce and slide is a type of modification technique because in this case you are modifying your stuttering. The bounce and slide is a voluntary stutter which helps you change the way your stuttering happens when it's an occurrence that is real. So the bounce. The bounce can be used as a voluntary stutter which helps gain control of your stutter. So an example of a bounce would be saying boy. The key here is to make sure you have a long pause in between the sound to gain control. So if you're reading a sentence, this is what it would sound like. Once upon a time, there was a young boy named Joe. I want you to try and read that sentence and use the bounce on boy to gain control.
Once upon a time, there was a young boy named Joe.
Good. The slide is the second part of this technique, which also can be used to gain control of your stutter. So you can also use this when you begin to stutter as a voluntary stutter as well. And what you do is you prolong the sound until you have gained control, and then you can finish the word. So an example of this would be saying the word named, prolonging the N, named. So your sentence would sound like this. Once upon a time, there was a young boy named Joe.
Once upon a time, there was a young boy named Joe.
Good job. So now we're going to talk about the 3 other modification techniques, which are all used to modify your stuttering. So easy stuttering is the first one I will teach you, and then we'll model. Easy stuttering is a series of relaxed repetitions. You want to remove tension, which allows your speech to move forward much easier. So here you will demonstrate real stuttering, but you're going to remove all tension. So in the example that we said boy for the bounce, we said it boy, with long pauses. With easy stuttering, you want to have shorter pauses in between each sound, because that is more similar to a real stutter. So for an easy stuttering example would be saying boy. So once upon a time, there was a young boy named Joe.
Once upon a time, there was a young boy named Joe.
Cancellation. So this modifies the moment of stuttering after the stuttering takes place. So you can use the bounce and slide, or you can go back and say the word again without stuttering, using a cancellation. So an example of that would be, once upon a time, there was a young boy named Joe, which would be, at that moment, you go back and say the word again without a stutter. Or if you want to use the bounce, you would say, once upon a time, there was a young boy named Joe. You try it.
Once upon a time, there was a young boy named Joe. Is that right? And I can do the bounce?
Yep, and now try doing the bounce.
Once upon a time, there was a young boy named Joe.
Correct. Okay. And lastly, for the modification technique, there's the pull-out. Here is when you stop the stutter when the stuttering occurs. So in the moment of the stuttering act, you want to stop and then repeat the word, either using a bounce, a slide, or repeating the word without a stutter. Okay? So this one is similar to a cancellation in the fact that you go back and say the word and you use your techniques like the bounce and slide to repeat the word, but you don't finish the word when you're in the stuttering act. So an example of that would be, once upon a time, there was a young boy named Joe. Okay, why don't you practice that one, which would be using the bounce as a pull-out.
Okay. Once upon a time, there was a young boy named Joe.
Good. If you're going to use a pull-out and you want to use the slide as a technique, you could do something like this. Once upon a time, there was a young boy named Joe.
Once upon a time, there was a young boy named Joe.
Good. And finally, you can repeat the word without a stutter. So, once upon a time, there was a young boy named Joe.
Once upon a time, there was a young boy named Joe.
Good. Okay, those are all of your fluency, shaping, and modification techniques.